How's it going, everyone? In this video, we have some big news on AJ Styles, Bayley, and a whole lot more. But before we begin, please make sure to drop a like on this video. I would really appreciate it. Alright guys, so for our first story of today, it looks like the new logo for Monday Night Raw has apparently been revealed. Because according to Berserker 1973 on Twitter, the new logo for Raw on Netflix can be seen printed on several WWE action figure packages. So what are your guys' thoughts on this new potential logo for Monday Night Raw on Netflix? Let me know in the comment section down below. Next up, we have some news that a big AEW star has still not been cleared to return to the ring. As Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select reports, even though he's been off of AEW programming for well over 9 months now, apparently Keith Lee has yet to be cleared to return to in-ring competition due to an undisclosed medical issue. And as of this moment, there is still no timetable for his return to the company. Next, we have an update on Killswitch's health and return, as Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select reports that after being hospitalized last week due to very low oxygen levels and pneumonia in both of his lungs, Killswitch, real name Austin Madelson, is no longer in the hospital and is currently back home, but he is on oxygen. And as it pertains to his recovery and return, he was told by doctors to expect to recover in a month or a little more, so he can eventually return to the ring for AEW. Next, we have some news on if Bayley was injured at WWE Bad Blood. So according to Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer, although it appeared like Bayley suffered a knee injury after she was seen limping and in a lot of pain during her match against Nia Jax at Bad Blood, Bayley's knee injury was actually a planned element in the match and not a legitimate cause for concern. Moving on to our next story, we have some very sad news for AJ Styles. Because according to the Wrestling Observer, despite initial reports saying that his injury on Friday Night SmackDown was simply storyline related, AJ Styles actually suffered a legitimate injury on Friday Night SmackDown, and he will get an MRI later on this week to determine the exact severity of his injury. So now guys, I want to give you my thoughts and opinions on all of the stories that we discussed today. Starting off with our first story, we did talk about the new logo for Monday Night Raw apparently being revealed, and according to Berserker 1973 on Twitter, he did post a couple of photos of WWE action figures with the new logo that it does say Raw on Netflix. And in my opinion, guys, the logo doesn't necessarily look too different from what the current logo is now. But obviously, this is a logo that is going to potentially be for Raw on Netflix. Now, I'm not sure if WWE will end up, making it a little bit different because there is still several months away until Raw officially moves from the USA Network to Netflix. So it remains to be seen if this logo, if this new picture is going to be the exact new logo for Raw on Netflix. Next, we did talk about a big AEW star, that person being Keith Lee, still not being cleared to return to in-ring competition for AEW, which is a shame in my opinion, guys, because Keith Lee, when he left WWE initially, many fans were very hopeful to see him be a big star for AEW, and even though when he did make his debut for AEW, he was booked very strong, but obviously he did suffer some injuries, so that set him back for him to have a major role in the company. And now it's been 9 months since he's competed for AEW. I believe it was back in December that he last had a match against, I believe it was Brian Cage on Collision. So it's been a very long time. And the report is also saying that Keith Lee is dealing with an undisclosed medical issue. Now, if you guys remember, just a couple of years ago, Keith Lee did say that COVID was very influential in him, being able to compete for WWE back then at the time. And then it does look like COVID did have some lingering effects on him for his respiratory system. So I do think that that is the same issue that is causing him from being able to compete in AEW. So we send our best wishes to Keith Lee for a speedy recovery, and so hopefully he can return to AEW a lot sooner than later. Next, we did talk about Killswitch, return update for him as well, because last week it was reported that Killswitch was found collapsed by his fiance. He was then taken to a hospital, and the doctors did say that he had very low oxygen levels. And they also said that he had pneumonia in both of his lungs. Well, thankfully, in an update, it does look like Killswitch, Austin, his real name, Austin Madison, is back at home. He is on oxygen, but he is no longer in the hospital, which is some pretty good news, because it does pretty much indicate that he's out of the woods. So hopefully when he is at 100%, he can return to AEW. The other story that we talked about was on Bayley, and there was some concern that she might have suffered a real injury, a knee injury at WWE Bad Blood in her match against Nia Jax, because she was seen limping and she did appear to be in a lot of pain, and she was struggling to, walk around in her match. However, according to Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer, he is saying that Bayley is currently fine and she was simply selling her knee because that was an actual planned element for the match. So she is doing okay, and obviously she was selling her knee very well, because many fans were concerned that she might have suffered a real injury. Now, moving on to our other story, we did talk about AJ Styles, and for him, his injury appears to be legitimate, which is very unfortunate news, because AJ Styles just returned to Friday Night SmackDown after being basically on the sidelines for many months now, because WWE Creative did not have anything for him. So now that he returns, he gets injured, which is some very unfortunate news for AJ Styles. Now, the Wrestling Observer did report that later on this week, AJ Styles will be undergoing an MRI to see the exact extent of his injury, the exact severity of his injury. So hopefully, guys, it isn't too severe. But by looking at the clip where it does show that AJ Styles is, I guess you could say, his leg and his knee, they do bend in a very awkward way. So I do think that this could be a potentially very serious injury that could keep AJ Styles out of in-ring competition, this time not due to any creative issues, but due to a legitimate injury. And hopefully AJ Styles does not need to undergo surgery and just needs to take time off without surgery being necessary. So with that being said, guys, that is all of the news that we have for today. Please make sure to let me know your thoughts and opinions on all of the stories that we discussed today in the comment section down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.